All right, everyone. Welcome to the Fordham Sports Analytics Roundup. I'm your host, Anthony D'Onofrio, alongside Matt Sandione, and we're here today with former sports writer and current associate athletic director at the College of Mount St. Vincent, Dan Federico. So, hey, Dan, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, fellas. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So, I guess to start, give us a little bit of background, like as your current job as associate athletic director. What are some of your duties day in and day out, and maybe highlight some of the sports teams currently at your school?
Sure. So, as at the College of Mount St. Vincent, we're a D3 school. So everybody, all the coaches, kind of have a different job title. There's game day management, there's operations, there's different things like that. So I'm not a coach. I am the director of athletic communications. So I pretty much do all the stat stuff. That's my number one thing. I run the website, I run the social media, I do graphics, any sort of content that goes out for the college's athletic department and into the school as well. I've kind of taken that on as well. So yeah, I stay busy doing that. It's definitely a lot because we have 13 sports programs. I'm at every home game. Home games are nights and weekends, so the hours are definitely a lot, but it comes with the territory. I mean, I am watching sports at the end of the day, so I can't really complain. But yeah, we just wrapped up basketball season last week. Both men's and women's made the playoffs. Unfortunately, they both exited in the first round. So springtime gets a little hectic because we have baseball, softball, men's and women's lacrosse, and then men's volleyball into their season as well right now. So it's busy, but it's good. I can't complain. Like I said, I'm watching sports. I'm enjoying it, writing, doing social media, Photoshop, things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much a short synopsis of what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. That definitely can't complain about watching sports all the time and creating media as well. So that definitely sounds like a great gig you got there. Besides that, like, do you guys implement any analytics at your college, or are you looking to do that, like, going forward?
So it's definitely something that I've touched on a little bit now. Again, being a baseball fan, and that's something that's very analytically driven these days. It's things that I want to implement. I know I worked with our men's basketball coach on, now we're talking not anything crazy. So like breaking down shot charts and heat maps and things like that. We did at the end of this year going into the playoffs to kind of figure out how to put players in a good position. And kind of the same thing with our baseball and soccer coach. Just kind of overlooking things, analyzing, seeing if I could find any little advantage I could see when watching back the film or writing game recaps, where I kind of have my notes that I do every game, and see if I could kind of put together something for them. Nothing serious. Again, D3 level, we're pretty limited in terms of budget with things like that. So it's kind of something where if I could find it or if something I notice, I'll always pass it along, because I love kind of being involved and talking with the coaches and trying to just have a little part in what they do. So yeah, like I said, nothing too crazy, but something we're definitely trying to expand on in the future.
Yeah, I mean, even here at Fordham, like, we struggle with implementing, like, a sort of analytics department in every sport. Like, I know one of the guys on our club, Chris Orlando, like, for a couple years, he was trying to do football stuff, and they're just, like, very resistant to, like, anything like that. So it's definitely tough, but, I think the future there's going to be some sort of at least data-driven help with college sports. Like, I'd say in, like, 25 years, I'm sure it'll be across the board. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and a lot of it too. I'm sorry to cut you off, but a lot of it too is some coaches. It depends if they want it or not. So I'm always available, but not everybody likes to pick the brain. They do their own thing, which I understand as well, of course.
Yeah, I was gonna say, really anything helps. Sometimes coaches don't want to hear it, but as long as you're putting in the effort and trying to give them any sort of edge, like, it definitely could make a difference at the end of the day. So it's definitely worth a shot to try to implement those things.
Exactly.
So moving on to writing, Danny. So what would you say your favorite company to work for was, and then, like, what's the difference between, like, writing for a big company like Bleacher Report versus a smaller blog?
So Bleacher Report was probably my best, just because, I mean, we all know Bleacher Report. When I was coming up, well, before that, it was always the list, like top 10 Yankees of all time, top 10 this. And they started branching out and doing a lot of real journalism work, and just seeing my name on their website. I covered mostly the New York Giants, but I did some Yankee stuff as well. And just kind of seeing my name on there and on the byline was fantastic. I mean, it was a dream come true. I would go on the app and it would say, Federico's thoughts on the Giants, things like that. So it was pretty cool to see that. having a job like that was also enabled me to pretty much do writing full time. That was the main bulk of my money. I was obviously doing different things in different places, but a place like that afforded me the opportunity to really get my name out there and help me grow a little bit. So that was great. But the difference between that and writing a blog that I did, I wrote for, X, Y, and Z, every sort of baseball nickname you could have, I probably wrote for them because I was just trying to get my name out there in any way. But I was at a place called Outside Pitch MLB. That was the first place where after I graduated college, it was like $1 for every 1,000 page views. And, you just kind of write, and it was a minimum of 10 articles a week. So you're just kind of,
wow.
I was jumping into the Yankees and I'm just like, I could, try and do this. So things like that though. Now, again, $1 for every 1,000 views. And I wasn't making any money there. It was hard to do that. But the lessons you learn is just, I'm writing every day, 10 articles a week. So, more than once a day.
Yeah, that's insane. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty, at that point you're kind of just like picking things out that you can kind of, minimum 500 words. It was interesting times, but I wrote there for a long time. I moved up to editor in chief. I really had a vision for that place and a love because they gave me my first shot and I was eventually making a little bit of money there due to moving up on the editorial side. But just kind of getting your feet on the ground, grinding, working. Again, I always remember when Aroldis Chapman signed back with the Yankees after getting traded. That news broke at like 1 a.m. And I was just, all right, got to get out of bed and just start writing about it because that's what I did.
I remember sitting in my bed and seeing that news. Yeah, that was late.
Yeah, it was late. I wanted to be the first one to get it out there. Now, again, I wasn't going to beat Jeff Passan or Ken Rosenthal, but you know what? I'm going to do my best to get it out there. So it's definitely a balance. Like I said, Bleacher Report and those type of places, it was, finally making some money and getting your name out there on a bigger platform. But to me, just grinding, that was always half the fun of it, was just like staying up, watching these West Coast games and doing a game recap or finding the little things and just writing sometimes for myself. I don't know how many people were reading it at that point, but it was just, building myself as a character, kind of as a person, is where I got that experience in places like that.
Yeah, gotcha. So moving on to some Twitter stuff. So me personally, Dan, I started like looking at Twitter a lot during the 2017 season, but I wasn't really tweeting yet. And then like 2018 is when I really like started interacting with people. But I still remember like even from like when the first time I really started getting into like Twitter, I always saw your name around like rumors and stuff. I remember I think like the Sonny Gray stuff, you were like all over that if I remember correctly. Like that, it was what really sticks out in my brain the first time I really saw your name. So how did you become like a prominent figure in like Yankees Twitter circles and like dealing with all these rumors and stuff? I feel like every deadline, you're always having some tweets that, me and like all the people who I talk to are like always talking about and they always see.
I appreciate that. So, it's really, again, writing for these lower blogs, I was able to kind of just, Trenton, I'm from Yonkers, Westchester, like Trenton was an hour or so away. So that was a place where I was like trying to just get my name and like, maybe I'd go watch a Trent Thunder. So I would go, first I'll go as a fan and kind of just take notes myself. And then I was able to meet a couple people and get press passes. And from there to get in that minor league level, because like you said, the Sonny Gray trade, who got traded in that deal were all the minor leaguers that went the other way to the A's, right? So that's a lot of times, especially in baseball, that's where those trades are built. They're at the minor league level. So I knew that was an avenue I wanted to take. And Trenton obviously was the closest, but at that time, I was seeing Chance Adam pitch and Jorge Mateo was still playing there. And that's when like Labor got traded. So he was, Miguel Andujar, like all those guys I was able to see, front and center. So doing that and meeting people, it just kind of opened up doors to people kind of, having a conversation. I was able to meet somebody actually in the Yankees press box who was there on assignment. And he was like, I was sitting by myself, just eating because I didn't know anybody there. And I wasn't going to talk to any of the writers because I knew they didn't know me. So, and he came up to me and he was like, where are you from? And we got talking. He's originally from the Bronx. I'm from Yonkers, kind of grew up around my dad's age. So I was able to just kind of have this kinship with him. And he's somebody who has had my ear and he's bounced around and he's gotten pretty high up the ranks in other teams. And he's always got his ear on the ground. And you got to understand in baseball, everybody knows whatever, like in terms of front office, they all know what other teams are asking for. So you can kind of, pick and choose and vet and try and figure out what's going on. So, it was kind of just making relationships and and being friendly with people and just, trying to be myself and not act like I'm any sort of person, especially on Twitter where, things get construed and, half the time people are calling me a liar, but it's like, I'm not making any money based off tweeting. And I don't really have a platform that big enough where it's going to propel me into something different. I just want to put news that I hear out there. So yeah, I mean, the Sonny Gray stuff was big for me. I had pretty good intel on that, and a lot of it, came to fruition in terms of what was being put out by me. So that was awesome. And then, going into the offseason, I'm trying to remember whatever year Manny Machado and Bryce Harper were free agents. I mean, I was putting down a couple tidbits that, I said that the Yankees had somewhat interest in just seeing if Bryce Harper could play first base to kind of fill that void. And 2 days later, Ken Rosenthal had that in the Athletic. So it's like things like that were reassuring and cool. And yeah, I always keep my ear to the ground. I stay in contact with these people. That's a big thing because it went beyond a work thing. I have relationships with some of these people. So things like that kind of just keep my ear on the ground and let me keep propelling and putting tweets out there. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Because we interviewed Jeff Passan for our club, and he said he had a similar thing. Like the relationships are so important. Like he said at one point, like a lot of the news that he drops like is really like 2 or 3 years in the making, because the reason he was able to drop this news is because he made this relationship with someone, however long ago. And then also, yeah, the minor league aspect of the trade deadline, like I feel like it's almost like a running joke, like on Twitter, like if it's July and there's a minor leaguer who's like declared out for a game, like everyone freaks out. And the people who are delivering that news, it's like the minor league, like either photographers or beat reporters, beat writers.
Yeah.
Like, so they're the ones in the spotlight when it comes to trade season. It really is funny how like the minor leagues has such a big spotlight on it for like the diehard baseball fans.
Yeah, and it's very different compared to other sports because, the NBA, NFL, you're not getting that stuff. It's not like there's not that contingency where people are getting traded from the minors and for big deals. How many trade deadlines in a row now the Yankees have gone to the farm system to get Anthony Rizzo, Joey Gallo, on and on and on. So back to Sonny Gray and forever. So it's really cool to see how it works and doing the minor league stuff. It's just super interesting because, they're professional. They are the Yankees. Like they carry themselves that way, but it's just getting that inside look and the future of the team is really cool. So I definitely recommend anybody if they want to try and break in and do stuff. That's a great way to start.
Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense, like going from the ground up, because it could be a lot easier to approach people and build relationships at those levels. So it's definitely a cool story that you're able to like make those relationships and keep them up until this day, like as people grew like into their higher roles. And also moving on to like you were talking about smaller blogs. I know a platform that you mentioned to me you helped create was called Bronx to Bushville. Could you tell us a little bit about that and the content you're going to be putting out there soon?
Yeah, so Bronx to Bushville is something actually harkening back to the outside pitch MLB days. I guess he was the editor in chief. I forget what he was. Brent Servio. He is somebody who took me on my first. I think it was like my third blog. That first week, I wrote something that I saw in another article, plagiarizing. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Like I kind of put it off as my own. This is me first starting, and again, getting $1 a week. I mean, $1 per 1,000 page views. And this guy called me into a meeting and was like, chastising me, telling me I'm never going to make it. Like just getting into me. And that was something for me where that instance I could have just been like, all right, what am I doing this for? This is for nothing. I'm not making any money here. But something that he told me and how he put it to me just kind of made me go, you know what? That was wrong and incorrect, and I should never do that again, and I will never do that again. And from that point on, me and him have had a friendship that from 2014, I've never met the guy because he lives in Milwaukee. He lives in Wisconsin. And another writer, Jonathan Powell, he's the three of us. Me and Jonathan, he was the Brewers writer. I was Yankees. We kind of came up on the editorial side. Brent was above us, and the three of us just, again, the kinship. Everything we hit off with. I mean, we talk about anything. Baseball started it, but life is now where we're at. And I really consider them friends. And that was something then where after Outside Pitch closed down, we always kept the group chat going. And then, a year or two later, I think we started in 2019. It was like, why? You could just make a blog online. We don't got to pay, it's not like something we have to really set up, just a platform for us to write and have fun. So, we did it. And it was something that we started. Life got in the way for all of us and it took a back burner, but we're actually starting it back up this season as a Substack. I'm going to start getting back into Yankees content. I know Brent's already going with the Brewers, so is JP. So we're trying to get back into it. And again, we're not in it for the money. We're not in it for the views. We're just in it for we want to provide content, and that's really what I always liked about it, and that's something we're going to do together.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely looking forward to the content that you guys are going to put out there. And it's also a cool story. Like a lot of people would be discouraged, like if someone was yelling at them like one of their first like times on the job, but a lot of times it's good to just like use that as a learning experience and then you can move forward from that, like and not let those things discourage you. I think that's like what differentiates people between like having success or like burning out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it would have been very easy for me to be like, this is a nothing place. There's nothing to this. I'll just move on. But something in, I mean, I always loved writing. I think it was something about Gary Sanchez. I don't really remember exactly what it was, but it was something I put in there, like just a sentence that was reported by somebody else, and I just didn't attribute it. And again, I could have taken it the wrong way. I probably did for a minute or two, and then I was like, you know what? Why? This isn't my like. Like you said, sometimes just how the person is, and I was fortunate enough. I'm glad I did take it, in stride because it kind of put me. And I'm talking about not as a writer because that's as much as I'm going to keep doing it, it is more so my past at this point, but it kind of propelled me into what I do now and my role as an associate athletic director and athletic communications. Just those life lessons, something like that kind of just put me in a spot where I'm at now.
Yeah, totally. Those are definitely things that you could take with you like for the rest of your life. So definitely important like to learn those things early on and then use them going forward.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the current Yankees. Let's see. So I guess there are two big convos, I guess, two positions, shortstop and left field. When the opening day lineup gets dropped, who do you want to see pegged in those two spots? Let's just get right to it.
Yeah, on the spot. All right, who I want to see. I mean, I again, it's the smallest of sample sizes, but what Anthony Volpe's been doing just in these little bit of spring training. I mean, it's just like I'm a big believer in just putting them out there and let them go. That's a big reason why I thought last year, when Oswald Peraza got called up, he should have just been starting the rest of the year because you let him iron out the kinks at that point, and then when you're going into this year, all right, he already has his MLB experience. He's seen the pitching. He knows the pace of play. He kind of understands. So I thought that would have been big for him last year. But at this point, I mean, either one of them I would take. And it seems like they're going to use Volpe a little more around the infield, not necessarily just at shortstop. But I mean, he's a guy I want to see right away. Now, again, there's the service time manipulation and all these things that we have to factor in. But if you're just asking me, I want to see Volpe at shortstop, and then I want to see Oswald Cabrera out in left field because what he did last year into the lineup, again, his stats weren't going to wow you, but the at-bats he put together, the defense he played, the confidence he brought on the field, the little intangibles that go beyond the numbers, it was something like that as a player where I saw in Cabrera that I thought, man, this guy, just have him play anywhere, anytime, any spot in the lineup. He's a guy who'll just bring a spark. So those are the two guys I want to see. Now, who I think we're going to see is probably a little different, but you didn't ask me that, so I don't got to go into Aaron Hicks IKF conversation right now.
Yeah, we've like us two, we've been having some convos about Volpe, and we've kind of both settled that like, maybe just like give Peraza the just the chance right off the bat and let Volpe see some AAA pitching. But there is always the case to be made about just calling a guy up straight up, like Julio Rodriguez last year. The Mariners did that with him, and that turned out really well. So yeah, I mean, I doubt the Yankees will do that, but I do totally get it because he is such an exciting player. And then in terms of left field, I feel like it's going to be Hicks, man. But I guess we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
like, oh yeah, I was just gonna say
no, go
like
ahead.
it'll be good to like see what the young players can give, like, and at the end of the day, like you could still have Hicks and IKF on the team. Like those to me are like pretty quality bench bats. Like in the lineup, maybe not so much, but we'll see where they go. Like I wouldn't mind carrying them on the team, but I think you gotta let the young guys play. At least put Peraza, Cabrera, and then if Volpe pushes his way out in spring training, then him as well. I think could be an exciting year this year with all those young guys.
Yeah, and I agree, like 100% with Volpe, where it's like I'm 99% sure he's going to be starting in AAA. And listen, like you said, he hasn't seen AAA pitching really, so it makes sense. And again, the service time is another conversation to have on another day. But okay, so that's why you have Peraza, man. He got the looks last year, not a lot, but he's done it. He did it in AAA, so give him the chance. And again, Cabrera, like I said, his stats may have been one thing, but just, him playing all over the diamond and just put his quality at bats where I always thought were so good, like off the charts in terms of, seeing pitches and working counts. I thought he was fantastic at that. And to see that as somebody who just got called up, I mean, that's something that's pretty rare. So like you said, sink or swim, let them get a chance, especially early on. And, like you said, you do have Hicks and IKF who are serviceable in a backup role, and you need them to hop in the lineup, okay, but nobody wants to see these guys playing 150 games next year. So
yeah, I think there are a lot of teams that would actually like really like them as like depth pieces. So
100%.
It's not bad. And then what was I gonna say? Oh, and then Oswaldo too. Like the other thing about him is that like the Yankees are still kind of desperate for lefties. I mean, I've been thinking like if Anthony Rizzo's back flares up, who's their best lefty? I think it would be Oswaldo at that point. So like another factor for why I want him to get in there is just because he's a switch hitter and he'll be able to take advantage of the short porch a lot, I think, with a lot of playing time.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, he's somebody I really enjoyed last year. I mean, he was probably, for most people, our favorite call-up just because of what he brought. When he robbed that catch in right field, he was just always something with him. He's having a great time out there, and that reflects on the team too when somebody young is going in and doing their thing. So I would love to see him get a lot of playing time this year.
Here's a big picture to talk about the Yanks. Do you think that they can beat the Astros this year in a potential playoff series? What do you think right now in spring training?
You always want to have faith, and how they played last year, the talent they have. They got Carlos Rodon, who's going to be a great boon to the rotation. It's just that I was a big proponent in still trying to upgrade the offense. Now, that the pitching was great last year, and they had a lot of success in that regard. But they needed reinforcements in the lineup, and that's something that we're pretty much running back. Whether you're going to say Peraza or IKF, it's a wash in that regard. You're running back pretty much the same team next year. So it's hard to say right away. My gut says no, which kind of scares me because I want to see the Yankees get over that hump eventually. But I still think they need a little more. And again, they do have these spots where third base, left field, even maybe shortstop, depending on how that position develops, where we're looking again at the trade deadline where we're going to have to bring somebody in, and then hopefully they mesh and things get going before the playoffs. So I don't know. My gut says no right now, but I'm hoping for positivity, hoping, JD could turn it around, hoping some of these young guys could come in and really play well over the full 162 games instead of just, a short sample size. So you never know. But right off the bat, I'm going to say no.
Yeah, Dan, I agree with you. I'm also saying no, but in a way, the uncertainty that the Yankees have, obviously I wish that it wasn't uncertain, but third base, shortstop, left field. But in a way, those uncertainties give me a little hope because it's like, what if Peraza has a really good year? What if Volpe comes up in June and he is like all of a sudden their third best hitter? What if they trade for someone, So in a way, the uncertainty is still giving me like some hope, but yeah, gut feeling. I feel like the AL is the Astros until it's proven otherwise. But what can you do? I guess.
Yeah, they deserve that at this point. Last year's rebound after all their scandals, they still got it done. So it's something that they deserve, and the AL is theirs, like you said.
Yeah, and one thing that's honestly pretty interesting to me, maybe I'm just a spoiled Yankees fan, but I've seen a lot of projections, a lot of sports books. They have the Yankees as the second best team in baseball right now behind the Astros. And I know we were talking about like how they didn't address those lineup holes, but they did address the rotation. So I guess that's why. But that was just one thing that I found interesting because I'm not sure if they're there at that top two spot. I would say maybe top five, but there's definitely some powerhouses like in the NL that I think could be a little bit better than them right now.
Yeah, you always Dodgers are always going to be at the Padres are just nuts with the way they spend the Mets. They're all going to be up top there. And again, 162 games, it's a long season. Things are going to fake out. There's going to be surprises. There's going to be disappointments, but usually those top teams are going to be around there. So it's going to be interesting. Like you said, I agree. I would go top five. Top two's a little high, only because again, I don't think they really addressed as much of the offense that they could have. And it's something that I feel like they're going to eventually end up doing at some point during the season.
Exactly. Switching gears here, like to MLB as a whole, like we've been looking at the new rule changes so far in spring training. I guess we'll start with the pitch clock, something that Matt and I have honestly like enjoyed so far. I feel like I like the increased pace. It could be nice to have an extra half hour of our night at the end of the day. Something Passan also said thinks will be a big boon for the sport. What's your thoughts on the pitch clock and some of the other rule changes that they've implemented this year?
So, I mean, the original, what was it, the other day when they really started getting into it, when Manny Machado got the first strike and just seeing these things. I mean, watching it on TV, it's a little jarring because I'm used to, a pitch. All right, who do I got to text? What do I got to tweet now? That stuff's going to be limited going on during this season. So, it's been interesting. But again, like you said, over the course of a season and, how long it is and all that, I think the extra 45 minutes is going to be great every night because these games are going to go, they're going to go. We've already seen the times in the spring training games. And I think you guys at John Boy put out some of these clips where it's like one pitch has been thrown in the span of how, I don't know the exact game, but one of the spring training games, someone threw a full half inning between, like, at the same time as someone threw one pitch. So it's like,
yeah. There was that, and then there was also like a viral clip going around, like of the same, like I think Pedro Baez clip, where it's like Jose Altuve hit 7 inside the park home runs before he threw one pitch. So yeah,
yeah. I mean, of course, that's an outlier, right? It's like it's not that serious, but again, it's definitely going to improve the pace of play. The clock is a little jarring, I think, seeing it on the spring training. I don't know if every team's going to have it like that, where it's like right behind the catcher and like very prominent on the screen. I'm sure it's going to be more so on the score bugs. Like that was something that was a little interesting to see, but it's one of those things where it's like there's changes all the time. I mean, how many people said people weren't going to be able to see the games because of the nets hanging up for the foul balls, right? Oh, we can't see through them. It's going to change how the game looks. And now no one even realizes it's there, right? So it's another thing like this where, it's going to take a little bit. Spring training has been interesting. On Twitter, everybody's going to be firing off these hot takes because that's what it is. And, by the first month of the season, it's going to be business as usual. It's going to be the same. I'm definitely interested to see the time average over the season, like how short it really is compared to the games. Because, some of these Yankees, Red Sox, Sunday night ESPN games, I can't do those anymore. So, it's going to be interesting. But, yeah, I actually do like how quickly the games have gone so far.
Yeah, I think it would be tough to argue that we're not seeing a better product on the field right now. I mean, it's just a matter of pitchers and hitters like having these routines that are really not necessary. I mean, they're just standing around. So my eyes have really been open to how much wasted time we're cutting out. Because I used to be like against any of these type of changes, shift restrictions, pitch clocks. But now that I've seen them and now that I've read about the impacts they've had on minor league baseball, I'm really, really for all of them. It's really cool. So yeah, what do you, in terms of like the bigger bases and shift restrictions, what are your thoughts on those rule changes?
I mean, the bigger bases is really nothing I've thought too much about. I think it is what it is. The shift restriction, not that I'm against it, but it's just interesting how it's going about now. And, it's going to be a big boon for players. Again, I think it was one of you guys, Matt at John Boy, that broke down, Anthony Rizzo's batting average is going to go up like 20% based on last year with the shift taken out. So it's going to be great for players because, it's going to equal more money for them and higher averages and better numbers. So it is very interesting, though, that they're, because it's still a game plan thing. So it's like limiting an NFL defense is something they could do in my eyes. But at the same time, it's something where, I don't know, it's not something that's going to change the way I view the game or how I feel about it. So I think the pitch clock was really the biggest one because I know, like all of us, we're baseball fans, right? So we know going into these games, it's a 3-4 hour day. That's how it is. Whether we're watching on TV or at the stadium. So something like that is something we're going to have to get used to. But again, I think so far the returns have been positive, and I don't see that it's going to be a problem once the newness wears off and we're just back to business as usual.
Yeah, I think once we hit June and everyone kind of has a couple months of it under their belt, like everyone will be used to it. It's like you said, it's pretty jarring right now, but overall, I think it'll be better for the sport overall in the end.
Let's see. How about last couple of questions here, Dan. Give us your World Series prediction.
Oh, man, I did this last year. I'm going to stick with it, though. Okay. And it's going to go against what I said about the Astros because I got to put this in. But it's because I want to see it. Yankees Mets. I need to see this happen.
Oh, yeah, okay.
2000 was so long ago. I was 8 years old. Now I'm ready for this, especially with Steve Cohen and the way
I was negative 1 year old.
Yeah, we weren't even born yet. So
yeah, so that was it. Was I mean, I was 8. I'm going to say it was a great time. I don't really remember, but it's just something that I think the city would love. I mean, and I was I understand it now because I spoke to some people that were more in the know, but I didn't really get why Steve Cohen didn't really push hard for Aaron Judge. And like I was, not that I wanted to see him leave the Yankees, but I was like, this is a slam dunk. You're going to steal from the Yankees, like turn the tide. Like it didn't make any sense why I wouldn't. Now I kind of do, but I just think the way he operates, he puts it all into his team, which I really enjoy. I know it's very divisive with the way he spends and how the Padres are now spending, but I think, you know what, if you have it, spend it. Shame on the Pirates or a team like that where they're not doing anything. That's how I see it. So I would love to see it. Local showdown, be a ton of fun. It's a rivalry that's, I think, more, in my eyes anyway, I don't see the Mets, as a Yankee fan, I don't see the Mets as a rivalry. I just see it as a fun, going back and forth. And I understand why the Mets would, because, like I have there's never any qualms about the Mets. I don't care. When they were in the World Series in 2015, I was all about them because I thought it was a great run. So that's something I would love to see. That's what my heart says. Gut, Astros, Padres. I'm going to go with the hot team spending all the money. So yeah. But I would love to see Yankees Mets.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting thing with the Padres because I feel like it's always Dodgers, and it might be them again. We'll see, but they really didn't do as much as people thought they would this winter. Maybe they're holding out for Ohtani or someone else next offseason. We'll see. But I think the Padres will definitely be forced to be reckoned with this year. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah,
I mean, the Padres are kind of like, now we're into, this is maybe the third year where they're like going into the season. It's like this is their year, and they still haven't been able to prove it. I'm hopeful for them. I really like their team. I'm cool with the spending of the money. I think if you have it, spend it. Why not? I mean, the contracts are going to look pretty crazy when how many guys are they paying into their 40s? Their infield is going to be ridiculous, but not my money. So I don't really, doesn't matter to me. I just enjoy the product on the field as it is today. So it'll be interesting to see though.
Yeah, exactly. Like the spending we've been talking about, it is kind of a little crazy, the age as well. But if they get a few rings out of it, then I guess it'll be worth it in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if they only get one ring or something, all the fans will remember that for the rest of their lives. And I haven't been to Petco Park, but from what I've heard, it's like a top 3 ballpark. Mm-hmm. So now now that park's gonna be packed every night. And I wouldn't count them out for Ohtani either, which is the crazy thing.
No, I think the teams we just mentioned, Padres, Mets, I think that's where it's going to come down to for Ohtani. They're both going to be going crazy for him, and that's going to be a contract that's going to look. I mean, if we think these contracts this year are a little crazy, I feel like that one's just going to be wild. But that's time for next year.
I think it's going to start I think it might start with a 5.
Yeah.
Damn. How many years though?
If it's a Padres, 13.
Yeah, it'll be 20-year, $550 million contract.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah. I like you said though with the World Series thing again. It's like, all right, the trade maybe didn't look as how it looked when it went down, but going back to Chapman getting traded to the Cubs, they got that one World Series. He was a part of it. I mean, Glaber, people thought he was going to be one of the best players in baseball at that time. It didn't really go out like how it did, and everybody else is gone from that trade. So maybe it wasn't as it is, but they got the World Series out of it. Either way, it was worth it. So one World Series is worth, all that money for them. So it'll be interesting to see.
Totally. I guess on the flip side of it also, what are some sleeper teams that you think could make some noise this year, maybe make the playoffs unexpectedly or make a little bit of a run here?
I'm trying to I mean, they're not a sleeper, but I feel like the Phillies are going to be able to rebound well and kind of be back where they were. I know they brought in a lot of top talent. They're really going for it. So I think, last year they were more of a surprise, and I feel like I haven't seen too much about where they would stand, but I think they're going to be a team that's going to be fighting for it. The NL East is going to be, insane. I think they're going to be fighting a lot. And like we were saying before, a team that kind of got the shine that didn't prove it, but I still kind of have a little hope in is the Blue Jays. I mean, they have a lot of good talent there as well. I'm not, as a Yankee fan now, I take my hat off a lot, especially when I'm writing. I try to be very unbiased and just call it as usual. But as a Yankee fan, I do not like the Blue Jays. They talk a lot of crap, and they're just they're very full of themselves.
And they don't back it up ever.
And exactly, there's no backing up to it.
They never back it up.
They do have a lot of talent, and it comes to a point where, I mean, I know last year going into it, everybody was like, "Oh, Blue Jays are going to win the AL East," but and another team in the AL East too, not to skip over them, the Orioles. I mean, they're just building very slowly, but they have a lot of talent there too. So
Yeah.
I like the Orioles a lot. Again, like the NL East, the AL East is always, just fight till the end. So, but the Orioles, Blue Jays, I really like, just in terms of the accumulation of talent that they have and what they're going to look like next year.
Yeah, and not even to mention the Rays, who always somehow find a way to
Of
be
course.
pesky as well. So the
Yeah,
East,
doesn't matter who's on that roster.
Yeah, so definitely both the Eastern divisions are going to be a dogfight for sure.
All right, Dan, you got anything else for us?
No, I just want to thank you guys. I mean, I saw Jeff Passan on here, and then I got the email to come on, and I'm just like kind of flabbergasted still. But no, I appreciate you guys bringing me on. It was a blast. I love what you guys do. I can't say I regret not going to Fordham because I met my wife at the College of Mount St. Vincent. That's where I graduated from. But Fordham is the place with, everybody came from Fordham. That's on TV and doing their thing. So you guys are on the right path, and I'm really happy that you guys are doing this. And it's great to see you guys succeed and doing well for yourselves.
Really appreciate that, Dan. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate it, Dan. Thanks so much for the time.
I appreciate it, fellas. Thanks so much for having me.